Hi everyone, welcome to this new format, which is these flute questions. Today I have the pleasure to have as a guest this wonderful flute player from Norway, Eirik Hoel, and I'm waiting him. He's ready. He is going to enter to this live connection soon, and we can start. So I want to remind all of you to share with you that this connection is for you. So we will be here for 1 hour and you can ask everything you want to us. Of course, I have wonderful questions thought for Eirik, but we are here for you. Please ask everything you want about flute technique, flute sound, flute projection, anything you want. We will be here to answer you or developing career, our lives, even if it's better if it's for flute playing, obviously. But anyway, we are here to answer your questions for a while, okay? So, okay, I'm going to add Eirik to the live streaming, and that's it. Hi, Eirik.
Hello.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you, even if it's virtually, but it's a pleasure.
You too. You too.
Thanks.
Finally, I'm a bit nervous to talk with the big King Frederic, the great.
No, come on. You don't have to be nervous at all. That's just let's say, an informal talk, and that's, in fact, I just said that for the audience. This is for all of you guys. This is a new format I'm starting, which is this like flute questions, and this is addressed for all of you. So if you have questions, you can ask us. We will be here for 1 hour, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions. So of course, I have a lot of questions that I can ask Eirik. Of course, we can, these two flute players, we can be speaking for hours, but I think it's much more interesting if you can participate and we can read you. So thanks a lot, Eirik, for accepting the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to speak with you. For those of you who doesn't know Eirik, he's a very good flute player from Norway, and he has a very successful and very interesting blog in eirikflute.com. I really recommend you to visit the blog because he writes very interesting articles. So that's it. I would like to ask you one first thing. First of all, is like, what will you say about yourself if you have to present you to anyone? Or a musician, especially. A musician, maybe, better.
Oh, it's the worst question. The most difficult question is to tell someone who you are, I think.
I know, but it's very interesting too.
Well, I'm a 36-year-old man from northern Norway. I live on 69 degrees north, if that makes any sense for people, but it's really on the, if you look on the map, it's really almost as far as you get in Europe. And on the edge of the Arctic Ocean.
Wow.
But I studied in Central Europe, among other places, and now I live here, and I play as much as I can when the pandemic is not ruining everything.
Yes, I know what you mean. I feel you, yes. And what did you study, just as a question?
Oh, I studied many places, and I'm actually still studying.
Okay.
I never stopped being a student, I have to say. I started studying in Oslo at the Norwegian Academy of Music. I studied with Torkil By. And later I studied in Berlin with Benoît Provencher at the Hochschule für Musik Hans Eisler. And then I went to Berlin. No, sorry, I said Berlin. I went to Stavanger in southwest of Norway to study at the university there with Vidar Austvik. And then after that, I went to the Orchestra Academy of the Royal Flemish Philharmonic Orchestra, and also to the conservatory to study with Aldo Barten and Peter Verheuyen on the piccolo. And then after that, I went back to Stavanger to study more with Vidar. And now I am currently taking lessons with Lars Asbjørnsen here in Tromsø. He suddenly lives here, and so I have to take advantage of that.
That's it. In fact, I think that this shows also a little bit the philosophy I can see behind you, and also the activity you are showing also in the social networks. We are going to speak about that for sure later. But it's like this spirit or this philosophy of that one never ends studying, basically.
Yes.
I mean, we should have this attitude because we are never ending of learning things. That's the thing, no? That's I really agree with you. That's also, and that's why I'm organizing this always this kind of events or colloquiums, because in fact it's very interesting to learn from people. So I think it's not only for the audience but also for me. You know, I learn a lot by hearing everyone's experience, and I think it's really the correct philosophy for a musician, because it's something that never ends, and in fact knowledge never ends. This we should never forget somehow, that we can never know everything, no, somehow. Great.
Absolutely.
So I would like to ask you also, because later we will speak about flute. Hi guys, we will speak about flute, we will speak about warming up and the sound of the flute technique, but I love also to know the person that I have here. So I think it's very, very interesting. So I would like to know, why are you a musician, or what do you think music is for you? Interesting questions, difficult to answer, but I think interesting answers always come from here.
I must start by saying the big cliche that everyone is saying is that I knew already as a child that I would pursue music. At first, I told everyone when I was very little, even before I started in school, I said I will be a singer when I grow up. And then when we came to that age where people wondered, well, like, what am I going to do with my life? What direction am I going to go? I already knew. So
yes,
so
but
it's never a question for me.
and this is and why? Because you were singing, like, say, well, for instance, when you were a kid.
I don't know if I sang well, but at least I was singing.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
But I mean, you were having joy singing. I'm not singing that because
Yes.
you can have a lot of joy and sing not very good. Also, it's a possibility. But I mean, no. But I mean that you were having joy and you knew, no, that since very in your childhood that it was something that was like very touching for you, no?
Absolutely. I think I was very attracted to the thought of being on a stage.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting. See, okay. So it was the thought of being on stage. So do you have any memory back in your childhood that you will say, I remember being on stage and I like that feeling?
I guess when I was in elementary school, I was in a very creative environment. And everyone in my class were very fond of singing and drawing and painting and making sketches, you know, like... so we would meet with everyone's parents, and we would play sketches for our parents, and it was just a very great environment for creative people, I guess. When a lot of people from my class actually do creative things now, are actors on TV or stuff like that. I think it was really a great place to start.
I understand. And about the stage thing, because you know there are some people that they somehow have fear of the stage also, and it's something quite difficult as a teacher. Sometimes it's like very difficult for me to speak about this topic, because it's sometimes it's hard to say why or to how to overcome that. But you were saying precisely that that in your case there was something attractive for you about the stage. So about that, what would you say that is attractive for you about being on the stage? Because that can be interesting also for people who suffer or about having to go on the stage, maybe.
Oh, yes. I think that in many ways, I think we have to admit that what we are doing with our instruments, like if we play the flute or violin or piano or whatever, it is the same. But it's a bit of an ego trip to what we are doing.
It is.
Like,
yes.
I am not just doing what I do for the people. I'm not just coming there to serve and entertain. I do it for me too, right? So it's I think it's a mix of that I love to express myself, but and a little bit I have to admit I like the attention of like, it's nice to give something to others, but it's also nice for me to to be well received. I guess I have to be honest about that.
Thanks a lot for being honest. I think it's very interesting that we can start to do this kind of conversations between flute players and musicians in general, but now we are flute players. And I think, I think that's of course like that. I mean, in fact, it's something that is in my thoughts lately. And, I think it's a compromise between the two things. It's like, for me, it's like something that should be there. I mean, if you want to be a musician, it's like a primary thing. It's like you like to be on the stage. Like, and with this, I don't want to say that sometimes you can suffer on the stage, and this can happen because maybe you are scared because you are not secure about something. It's totally normal, but there is a point of that you want to be listened because you have a message, an inner message that you want to express, and for you, music somehow helps in that way. And I think that it's like a mixture of the two things. It's like, for me, that's like the primary thing that should be there to be a musician. And then comes the thinking about the others. I mean, then you have this, then this is your let's say your communication tool, this attitude. And with that, then you think about projects that may be interesting for others also. But if you don't have this, I mean, it's whatever I would say. For instance, if I would have to do a project that I don't believe in, then I will not do it. Mm-hmm. Because I will not do it genuinely. I will do it like with a wrong attitude, and that's it. Basically, it has no sense. Of course, sometimes we have to do things as a professionals that maybe it's not the best thing that we would love to do, but at least that you don't hate that. At least this. Yeah. That's very important for me, because otherwise, if you are in a place that you don't want to be, everyone will know, and everything will be super toxic, and because this first part of communication, I think it should be there, and this kind of ego should somehow be there. And then if you have that solved, then you can give to the others, and you can somehow have your ego apart. And this is a little bit, I think, the problem that happens sometimes between musicians, that sometimes the ego is too present. Maybe it's because there is something which is not working of this primary source. You know what I mean? What do you think about that? Because it's very interesting topic, in fact. Yes.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The question is what do you think about this compromise about the ego? I mean, because I think that a lot of problems between musicians a lot of times happen when they don't know how to, let's say, balance the ego. Sometimes the ego is like very strong, and then it's like first of serving also other people. You know what I mean? I think it's a compromise somehow. And what do you think about this compromise? What do you find? How do you find your inner balance with that?
I think it depends a lot on what kind of music you are playing. I think, for example, if you play Grand Polonaise by Böhm, there is room for more of your ego than in, for example, a Bach sonata.
I understand.
And if you are sitting in an orchestra, there is even less room maybe for you. But then you are more kind of serving the music. But
it's great, but I understand totally what you say. It's great. Thanks. It's very interesting also because it shows a lot about yourself. Because I think that this predilection for some repertoire, it can also change between some people. You know what I mean? Because for instance, another flute player could have said, I think when I play Bach, it's more about myself. You know what I mean? And then when I play Grand Polonaise, it's I totally understand what you say, and I think it's very interesting, but it's very interesting question. So I would love to say something to remind something to the viewers. Is like, of course, you can make questions to us. You can write your questions. We will read them. In a moment, we will speak about flute. We will start to give examples to play and to chat about that. But please do write your questions about flute playing. Maybe it will be easier when we start to play. They will be more motivated to that. But before that, I wanted to know also, what is, let's say, because for me it's important, what is your conception about the musical scenario like nowadays with all the situation that is happening? What do you think that is going, let's say, to happen, or how do you see the situation, for musicians,
You mean because of the COVID?
Yeah, because of the COVID, and also because of the situation we are having related to it and nowadays.
I'm trying to stay very optimistic and positive, and I'm kind of thinking that soon we have to be back to normal. And I think that sometimes I have this feeling of the opposite, and I'm trying so hard to suppress that, because I just cannot bear the thought of this lasting for another year or so. But I think I think that especially here in my country, where it's going quite well, I'm fortunate to be able to say. I'm hoping that with vaccines and etc., that we are going to be back on our feet again after the summer. I just really pray for those people who lost so much during this time that they are not able to get back on their feet. But I hope that the society as a whole is going to be able to recover, or the society of musicians. I don't know really how to put that.
Yeah, I understand. I share your I share your same opinion about that. Yes, I hope I have the same hope. Let's say yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I am also optimistic. Let's say, and last but not least, because we will speak about a lot of things, but now then later we will go down to flute also slowly. I would like to know, what do you think also about this new, let's say, maybe with this, I have the feeling that with this pandemic situation, let's say like this online world has like somehow opened more, like as an option also for musicians, especially classical musicians. And like maybe before we were like more skeptical about the use of it, you know, like maybe people were not doing this kind of content, or even not playing so much on the social networks, or just doing some promotions or like this. But you are some musician that you are very active in your social network, and you have very interesting projects about that. So what do you think, what is the role that it can have in the present and in the future for musicians?
I have so many opinions about the things that you said now. I have since 2014 been sharing very openly from my musical life here on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that I've received a lot of now we need that boop sound.
Yes, let's say a lot of boop. Yeah.
Yeah, I've received a lot of like for doing that, for exposing myself, for daring to say that I think blah 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 about flute playing. Like I've been, people have said to me behind my back, but not so hidden that I have not caught it. Or someone told me that this person said something, like for example, Eirik, he thinks a lot about himself. He thinks he is someone, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I want to that. My answer is yes. I am someone. I am.
Yes.
but
Yes.
I just think it's interesting that I've observed people who have told me that I'm not that kind of person who is going to share a lot of things like publicly on the internet. That after the pandemic struck, I see exactly these people are sharing videos and doing these things. And also, what I and other people who have done the same thing as me have experienced is that these people are now coming to us for advice on how to use certain apps and electronics and etc., and expecting this advice to be given them free of cost. Like I have been contacted by a lot of people, especially when the pandemic had just broken out, who almost demanded that I gave away all my secrets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
But so that's something I've been really thinking about and considered being vocal about. But I think I think it's a positive thing that people are exposing themselves. I don't see a negative thing with that, except from that maybe sometimes the listeners or audience are getting a little bit too much for free, and that where they should pay. Yeah.
I totally understand what you say, and I somehow agree. You know, one of the reasons I wanted to contact you, it was precisely because I know that you are like somehow like a pioneer in this world also, and I wanted to also know your point of view, but openly, not asking you advice. If I want to ask you advice, I
Oh,
will do,
please
but
ask me.
I will do,
But
but I will do after having a relationship with you. You know what I mean? Not
yes,
not not like that. And what I want also to know this kind of people that you have been doing that before, because I know a lot of them, and I think in fact that that's brave, because that was doing that in a moment that was not so well seen, let's say. And I
yes,
think that in the pandemic, luckily, somehow this stigma, I don't know if this word exists in English, but
yes.
a little bit, it is started to disappear. And I think that in other worlds, in other professions, it was before it went away. So there are a lot of I don't know, historical divulgation, philosophical divulgation, science divulgation, you know, out there. But music there is, but not specifically about flute. There is, but it's like pioneers that were doing that. But you know what I mean, and it's exactly what you were saying, that other people that for me they are very conservative,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and also then they it's like they don't understand how someone can have, like, let's say, success like you have in social networks, and it's like, yeah, because maybe this person is sharing content that a lot of people find that interesting, and
Yes.
I want to know why this person shared that, you know, and what you think, for instance, about sharing things. What do you want to contribute by doing that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to also, let's say, learn from that in that case, learn from your perspective on using social networks. So, for instance, what led you to be so active, for instance, in social networks in a moment that you were seeing that this was happening? By the way, it happened also to me, not so much, because now it's much accepted, and I have to say that 90% of the feedback I'm having is very good. But it's true that I know there's people that still is very skeptical about all of this, you know. But anyway, I think that little by little it's going to change, but you suffered it much more, and I would like to know what kept you doing that.
Okay, so in 2014, I decided to move back to Tromsø because I come from Tromsø. I was born here
Mm-hmm.
and I grew up here. I had been studying music for many years, and like really many years,
Mm-hmm.
and more than like no more than a bachelor and a master's, like
Yeah, yeah.
for a long time. And like I said earlier in the conversation, I mentioned all the schools and all the teachers, and it's like it's a lot. And I found myself not earning any money.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work in a cafe and a bar
Mm-hmm.
to feed myself, and the rent in that city where I lived was so high that I decided I will go and spend some time with my parents, because
Mm-hmm.
I figure out how I can I cannot be happy if I don't do music. This is what I've been training for. But I also need to. I cannot do music living on the street outside in Norway, you know. And then I came to Tromsø, and I figured out that since I have not studied here, I really did not have any connections with the like classical music scene here. Like there was nothing for me here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I posted. I remember I posted a video just in the beginning of Instagram. You could only post 15-second long videos. So I started just as a challenge for myself to post 15 seconds from an etude, a different etude every day on Instagram, and I used the hashtag an etude a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that am I able to play 15 perfect seconds that I can stand for and post publicly online?
Mm-hmm.
If I do that, I stay in shape at least.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to really get it perfect, like in every way, like perfect fingers, perfect everything, even 15 seconds can be challenging, I think.
It's a lot, yes, of course.
And then this followers started coming, and people started asking me for advice, and I just started like growing as as an account, like on Instagram, an Instagram account, and then it just naturally progressed, I guess, in the way it has. And here I am now.
Yeah, I understand, but I can understand totally the motivation of starting doing that, you know.
Yes.
And it's basically like keeping in shape, and I share that somehow. When the pandemic started, in my case, it was a little bit that somehow I needed to do something because everything was cancelled, no. And somehow it was like, well, I think that if I start to do this kind of pedagogical content, I can help students out there that they cannot have lessons. That was the first thing. And I said, and by doing that, I'm also being in shape. And I have to say that thanks of doing that, during this past year, I'm in shape. And I'm in shape and I'm motivated with music, also doing this kind of projects, you know, because it's like this. Otherwise, unfortunately, I had some projects, but it was very difficult this last year for the musicians to play, you know. And I think it's something very interesting. And I know that I will get out of this one, like not more strong, but with different things to do as well, that offer me motivation. Also the possibility of launching like online academies, let's say with collaboration with different orchestras. It's a world that it's opening to our A's. And I think it's just we need to somehow profit that in a good way, in a constructive way. And I think that's something that we should really do. So I really appreciate your honesty, and also that I understand why you started to do this. And
I just wanted to say that everyone who has seen your pedagogic contents are very impressed with you. You just have to know that it's very good what you are doing. And I have learned something from watching you. It's really great. I just
thanks, Eirik.
You have to know.
Thanks, Eirik. I'm happy to see also the feedback of the people, of course, and of course it's like what you said about the egos. It's also nice to have an ego that is under control, but it's healthy. I think it's very, very interesting. So thanks a lot. And it's the same. I tell you, it's like I think you share really very interesting content and very innovative, and this is why people follow you. I know it clearly. It's like in fact there are no secrets. It's just like being constant and doing something which can be interesting for the people too. And if it's genuine, then maybe it works. And maybe it doesn't work, but it's not a drama. It's just that you do something that you want to do, no?
I think that if people want to be successful on social media with the kind of account that I'm doing, they should look to, for example, one thing I do, and also Helen Bouleg.
Mm-hmm.
We are not just sharing the success. We are talking very, very openly about struggles and challenges.
Yes.
Like you become a human. You don't become some super like.
I understand.
It's like I got really great opportunities to play this and that with those people, but it does not mean I am perfect.
No, of course.
And I don't want to be perfect. Okay, I want to be perfect, but I don't want to be perfect.
that's you know, it's totally what I think also. I think that in the world we are living, somehow we all demand to have more realism, if you want. And I have to say that the most I liked about the interviews I'm doing, it's always that people is speaking openly, and also they were speaking about failure, and I'm always asking about that. You spoke about that freely, and I didn't have to ask. But also when I asked, like for instance, when I was speaking with Silvia Caredu, for instance, she was also sharing very openly some difficult moments she had to go through, and that's very interesting because we have to know that this happens to everyone. Because otherwise, in the world we are living, it's a little bit the negative side of the social media. No, it seems that everything is perfect. Yes. And it can be very nice and amazing, and your career can be very interesting, but sometimes also you're at home and you are a little bit not so motivated, and maybe you are practicing something that doesn't come well up. And it's nice also to something I want to do. I'm starting to do. I want to do more in the future is open practice. You know, like sharing how to practice things, and that people see, hey, it's not coming, you know, and I can solve that, no, somehow, and it's a process too. I think it's also a very interesting thing that a lot of flutists in Instagram are doing, and I think it's very interesting too.
I think what you said now about things appearing perfect on social media and not being it in real reality. It's also a bit, you can also say that about when you enter a concert hall and you're walking into the concert hall and like everything's so beautiful and like there are things made out of gold, like even the staircase is gold plated almost in certain orchestra houses, and then you go in and you see like the perfect result of what happened in that orchestra, but you don't see that the backstage is rotten and that there was a lot of drama between some people in the orchestra here, or that maybe they just got the sheet music 2 hours before the concert and everyone's really unhappy, but they're smiling. Like you don't know everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like this. It's like somehow you can understand. It's also that it's like somehow part of the show. But I think that also it's nice that there is a part of the show that it's precisely about this part of the show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's also very interesting. There are a lot of series, TV series that are about that, and they're very interesting. It's like to know this backstage part of not music but other professions, no? I mean, about doctors, we have a lot of series, you know, about this, and to know all the drama and etc. And I think that people who do the same with music can touch something very interesting, because it's, of course, when we go on stage, it's something that I really think it's like you have to try to give your best, even when shit happens. And it's like this is what Gabor Takakinagi says. I like this. He says that, he was saying that from another conductor, I remember. It's not from himself, but he was saying, like, remember, when you go on stage, people may be deaf, but they are not, they can see, you know.
Huh.
So at least smile, because maybe it will be a shit what it sounds, but at least that you can offer them that you somehow are motivated to do this, even if you are not, no, because you know, it's always this, but of course, it's also very interesting to speak about this other side, etc. It's, of course, it's really nice.
I like that what you said. I heard someone say that about like I have to be very careful now what I say, but there is a concert band in my country, which is like public, like the common man, the man in the street, consider them to be fantastic, but they are not really. But the whole point is that people, they hear what they see. I like the expression so much, because these people, they are standing so, you know, they look perfect, and then people perceive them as perfect.
That somehow yes, there is. I mean, in the end, music, it's also when it's performed on a stage, it's also an stage art, and it has this. It's important also, like how you physically are communicating with people. It's a whole art itself, and I think that has a lot to see with that. So I will have just one last question about chatting, and then we will chat, but about flute. And hi, Sergio. Hi, people is saying hi. And then also people can ask questions about flute, and we will speak for a while about flute, technique, and sound, and all of this. I would like to know, you said that maybe on the internet people should pay for that. I also somehow agree with that, because I don't want people to misunderstand me. I'm super happy to share content that can be useful for people. But I think that at some point, if people want people, let's say, to keep doing that and doing that in a more professional way, or developing that, and also having content which is much more deep. Because, for instance, if I'm doing a tip video about something concrete, of course, gladly I do. It's something, but that it's not so complicated to do. But for instance, if I was doing a video analyzing like the whole Reinecke concerto, for instance, maybe this video is 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, and I'm giving my version, and I'm giving a lot of tips for this and precise, you know, this is like a lesson. In fact, this is basically like a lesson. And what I'm doing on the internet, it's not a lesson. Let's say it's just divulgation or pedagogical content. But I'm going to keep doing that. But I totally agree with you. Somehow, for this other content, I think that it's like when you are doing a lesson, you also earn some money from that, and it's understandable. I also have the same feeling. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that in many ways, after the internet really became what it is now, it's hard for musicians to sell albums, to make a living, and I think that sometimes it's just something I see from the DMs or direct messages that I am getting here on Instagram, is that I can share some things about the flute, and I think often it sounds very like you have the whole thing, but it's hard in a very short caption to do more than just scratch the surface. And
Mm-hmm,
then,
mm-hmm.
but anyway, I feel like sometimes the way people text me in private feels like they demand me to teach them.
I know, I
And
know.
because I said a little bit about something, I owe them to go and listen to them and give them concrete advice about some aspects of flute playing, and I'm not doing that, but
Yeah.
like I try, of course, always to be very polite and kind, but I think people often don't really respect the fact that the reason why you and I and other people know what we do is because we have this education, and this education costs a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and not to forget money. And we also need to eat. I've studied longer than doctors and
Mm-hmm.
like medical doctors, and let's compare paychecks here, right? Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
and
I answered your question,
no,
but
yes, yes, totally, totally. In fact, it's like it's what I'm saying is like, for instance, now we're going to speak about some things about flute. But this is two flute players speak that was going to speak about some things, how we warm up, or some exercises, or some feelings, etc. No, and you can ask us. So this is something we offer for you because we think it's interesting also for ourselves and also for you. And I think that's great. That's great. But this is not a lesson. It's what I'm
yes,
saying.
this
This
is
is
obviously free of cost.
that's obviously free of cost. It's just a conversation about the topic. It's just divulgation, if you want to call it like that. So it's great. But if any one of the students out there who are listening to that find interesting, I'm happy that they find interesting. But maybe you can also consider the option to write Eric if you like something, the perspective he has about something, and ask him a lesson, or even doing that to me or to other people I have interviewed, because we are living from there, from that, and as well as these students in the future, they will do the same. So I
Mhm.
think this is also it's also this, because one thing is to speak generally about the feeling I have in the tips I'm doing that, but this is my feeling. This is something I share, but this is something that can be very interesting for someone maybe, but it's not a lesson, because a lesson is specific about something you are hearing and you're reacting to that,
Yes,
and
and
also that's it.
also a lesson is specific for you. I
That's
think
it.
that if you watch a tutorial on YouTube or read a text I wrote or something, it's just kind of course you can learn a lot from that. But if you really struggle with something, with your embouchure or your fingers or something, it the text or tutorial or whatever does not replace a real lesson with a person who can like look at you and give you a diagnosis and the medication for your problem. That's
Totally. I
I find
totally,
very, very
totally
important.
agree. Totally
Yes.
agree with that. And this is why also, because I received sometimes also comments of people saying like, hey, but I don't agree with what you're doing because you are doing that for free, you know? And it's like,
Oh.
yes, but I'm not giving lessons for free. You know, maybe someday I did like some open masterclass, like, okay, to hear some student. Okay, but this is like open, like a call that I'm doing for students. Maybe they are motivated to do. Yeah, okay. But no, I'm not giving lessons for free. And a tip is not a lesson. From it's what exactly what you say.
Yeah.
Because one thing is to speak now what we were going to do, but another thing is that, hey, I think that in your case, maybe you could practice, try this or try. It's totally different thing, and we know that because we are musicians, and we received a lot of lessons, and we know that. So it's great.
I just know, for example, to take myself as an example, when I like what I've done the 2 last years, which I'm very proud of something I did, because I think it takes a lot of courage to do that on in your 30s, is that I changed my embouchure. Like I changed a lot about the muscles, and I had to go through months and months of sounding like a lot lower level than I am actually, because I had to do that. And what I needed to do was strengthening the muscles here in the upper lip. And that took a lot of guidance from Lars Asbjørnsen, who is has been helping me so much with that. And this is not something I could have done by watching on YouTube or reading a text. Like I know. And I can tell people a lot about what I've done, and I'm so happy to write about that and give this information for free. But really, if I was to help someone, to really help us, like one person, a specific person with some embouchure problems, I need to have that person in front of me in one way or the other to see what they are doing and comment on what I can see, not just it does not work only in theory.
I know, I totally agree with you. So Eirik, I think that we should do something about flute, because otherwise we will run out of time, because it's 1 hour video. It's so interesting to speak with you that we are speaking, which is totally fine. It's very nice that it's a talk. But can we maybe, because I think we have now only 15 minutes left.
Sure.
But I think that in these 15 minutes we can speak about something. So maybe you were sharing this story about the embouchure. I'm not saying that now you speak about this concretely, but yes, I have something that could be interesting in this short time, playing also for the people. The question is now, speaking about the flute, what do you do to find, let's say, your sound? What feelings, or what do you do when you take the instrument? What do you like to do? I mean, warming up, of course, but what are your feelings to, let's say, find yourself?
Wow, that's that's a difficult question. I'm not sure how to answer it. I feel like I know you gave a masterclass to Nicole Esposito's students, and
yes.
And I just love one thing that Nicole says about the sound. She asks her students, where does the sound begin?
Yes.
And the answer she gives to this, which I find is ingenious, is that it of course it begins in your heart, in your the sound is a concept in your head. It exists way before you start the note, you know.
I know.
So I maybe that's the only way I can answer that question, if you are not talking about some technical aspect of producing the sound.
I'm saying about the two, everything. And for instance, and that's totally, I understand, and I share that point of view too. And when you do it, let's say that you take the flute, you know, like I have the flute here, and you have to play something. What is your body or mind demanding you to do so that you can be comfortable playing?
If I may say something I find extremely interesting, is that I had to play some musicals before this pandemic. And when I got the scores, it says like, here you play flute, there is piccolo, okay, that's fine. And then suddenly it's like alto recorder and soprano recorder. And I was like, recorder? I didn't say yes to that, but here I am with this piece of paper that says I have to play recorder. So I bought recorders.
Okay, great.
And I practiced on them. And then it came to me, because I'm a very analytical person, that I was thinking that when you have a flute and you have a recorder, what is actually the difference between these two? Like, what is the actual difference? And if you ask the question, how is the sound produced on this one compared to this one? Where the answer is very simple. It's exactly the same sound production. On this one, you blow the air towards this edge on the head joint, and it splits over the edge, and then you have a flute sound. And on this one, you did this edge here in there. Except from on the recorder, you have a wind channel that directs the air towards that edge. And so I would actually defend an argument saying that the flute is, for a flute player, you're really more than on other instruments, a physical part of your instrument, because to make this air tunnel, that's your lips. This part of the recorder, that's you on the flute, like your flesh, your skin, like it's that. Yes, that's you make the air tunnel. And for me I think it's so important to think about this tunnel and how the length you make, the distance from your teeth to the tip of your lip when you are doing this, it becomes this tunnel, and you need to have a longer tunnel when you play high notes, for example, than short notes. And I also think a lot about this is, I think it's Sergio Palotelli who used these words. He talked about hugging the sound, not squeezing, but like giving a hug, like you with your lips, you are kind of like hugging the sound. And I like to have this image when I control my airstream, air column. Yes, and I think that's how I do it to make a very good sound. If that makes sense.
I totally agree. I think it's very, very nice image, and that you showed also the two instruments. I think very, very nice image. I totally agree. The same thing about the air tunnel. And in fact, for this, I have an exercise that I'm not doing for warming up. For warming up, I'm just believing on my reflex. You know, I'm just concentrating on the singing part of the, and then I'm just going like normal, like I just play, no? And I'm just waking up and these kind of things, doing octavas. It's very, because you're changing the tunnel, etc. These kind of things, no?
Yes.
But then something I do when I'm feeling comfortable, and it's like it's one exercise which is very simple, and for me it's like teaching myself how I should make the tunnel for every note. And this is for me super healthy, because then I can be confident. Then I know that the contact point, so the tunnel is there. And then I can forget about it. And then I can play other things. I can think about the air, I can think about the music. And this is just very simple. It's just like blowing, not making the flute sound. So, and then playing with the contact point so that it starts to speak the note. So, then I know it's there. And by doing that, I'm my how to say, my sensations are being also awake, and then I can also go forward. I don't know. Then I know that the note is there, and then I can develop the sound. And of course, but the basic thing is what is you're saying about the tunnel is there, you know?
Yeah. I'm always so impressed when people can do what you did now. To go from nothing, or you played a lap.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic. I might come for lessons, Frederic.
No. But you know, I have to say that if I think that, because I practice this, it's not that I really practice that. And the thing is that when I play with and I'm doing that now with the super extreme high register, which unfortunately it's very complicated. But I do this kind of things because it's what you say about the tunnel. Then I know that it's there. And I think that it gives me a lot of confidence, you know, because then somehow I know that if I place the tunnel there, it will sound.
But what would you say that you do physically with the muscles in your face? Do you do anything here on the side? Do you?
I just know
everything like focused here around the.
Of course, we all know what is the airstream we need for these notes. Of course, because we know that we know the amount of air we need. So we're starting for a super advanced, let's say, level. Of course, we know to play this D, we know, or this A, we know. Yeah. And we also know what the note is. That's it. Because every bachelor student can play this, can play, even if it's not so focused, but they can make it sound. So then just this trying to to anticipate what is the feeling, making it, I blow, but I'm like placing the position before. I'm like placing myself, and then, but I'm not making it sound. I'm blowing, but not making it sound. Even sometimes it sounds a low harmonic, this, you know, but I'm trying to focus the note, and then I'm playing with the feeling. There was one moment that it starts to sound, but not start to, you know, it's this point that it's not like this kind of point that it's not clear that it will sound. But I am playing with this feeling, and I am doing also with higher note. Now I'm practicing this lately. Unfortunately, it's not so easy. But of course, you discover different things. For instance, I'm discovering that I have to change a little bit the contact point when I want to play. I don't know, like. If I want to play that comfortable, this kind of resonance, I have to change much more the contact point as I thought. Anyway, this kind of thing, you know.
Well, to me, I do not dare to take up my flute now and try to play an A from out of nothing. and if I can do it, I might not be able to do it the second time I attempt to do it. It's like I'm always working on my high register. I'm always like, for me, you sounded through my iPhone speakers, you sounded like a clarinet, you know, coming from nothing. And I'm like, I'm all ears. I'm tell me the secret on how to do this.
but the thing is that I show that not because of showing, but I show that because for me, that's exactly the tunnel chair, the air you say.
Yeah.
I mean, this is for me is the contact point for every note. And if I do in the low register, it's the same, you know, like. Even if it's low, now that's low. That's low, but the contact point of this note is there. Also, if I played it much more higher, the contact point, then we get this. But then we get the whistle tones.
Oh yes, yes.
So then if I'm focusing the sound not where the whistle tones are, then you know that the contact point of this note is there. And it's a little bit what I'm doing with the high register, also experimenting to make the note sound bad, to break and sound the lower, like. This, no?
What would you say that you are physically doing? Because I guess you to get that control of the high register, you need to make a very, very small opening between.
Yes, of course. But you know what happens? That I cannot explain physically what I'm doing, because also I think that everyone's contact point is totally different. Every channel is totally different.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And then it's very difficult. I can give some hints, like making trills. If you do trills and you try to reduce the air, also for me it's very clear, because I can play, then I can see where it is, you know, if I do. I can really do this, or trying to do this circular breathing also was super helpful for me, because if I do with trills the circular breathing, then I can make it sound with only the lips, and then it's, you know, I can do with the circular breathing with the trills so easy, and it's because of that. And then this gives me a lot of confidence, because this is most of the times what I am doubting. Then I can go out from there. I can leave. I can play more open, and so on. Physically, what I'm doing, of course, it's like super precise. Is the angle, etc. It's very clear. I know it's like there, you know. And the low register is more like there, and etc. It's like a matter of, like, if you throw an arrow somehow. It's like I'm not pressing, it's just there. The contact point is just there. Because
Yeah.
in the flute, in the recorder, it's the same. It's poop, it goes there. If you change the note, it's poop. It goes to the same position. So in that case, we have to change, I think, our lips as anyway.
So how do you suggest going on about practicing doing that? Where would you say to begin?
I will begin by playing comfortable first of all, and comfortable maybe means playing more with more air and more full. That you can be comfortable without pressing, without pressure, you know. And then from there, trying to reduce the air. And I think that something very interesting is first playing frullato, because also it's very intuitive. Then very fast you know where you play, and then trying to reduce the air and doing these trills also helps. And then trying this exercise that it's like you blow and you make no sound because you are so little that you don't let the flute sound. Then it only sounds air, you know. And then little by little you're opening. That you're opening and it sounds. That's why it speaks.
But then again, when you did that with the high la, you are like the chances of when you are doing that is that you would hit like a ghost harmonic.
Yes, let's say I can do the or I mean I know that if I do before that I'm blowing, it doesn't sound. It's because I'm focusing higher, lower, higher. And in the point that it's too high that I open. So
up and then you do like this. No.
It's like I do like an M, and the M relaxes somehow.
Well, this is food for thought for me. Like I said, I always am very humble, and I always try to adapt what other people are doing into.
I do the same.
My own practicing. So this is very interesting. Really.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you so much for talking about this. It's exactly the things that I am working on in my own playing. So it's.
I'm happy to help with that. For me, what is very interesting is to hear people like Hélène Boulèche, for instance. I spoke with her as well, and there is people that they don't think, and for instance, or people that they play like very great, you know. And then I can see that it's like they don't think, they simply play in that contact point, they blow. For me, it's more difficult for me, and I try to learn a lot from them. Or Felix Rengli, my teacher, is the master for this. Like he can play super loud, but it's because it's there. Then it's everything volume, you know, everything body, you know. But you have to forget also about this. It's like you know, for pianos, then you are very aware of that. But for loud things, it's on the contrary. You're opening. You're not closing. No.
Yeah.
It's complicated. But it's very very interesting.
Because I am practicing high register by doing harmonics a lot.
Yes.
Like I'm going from the low C up to the C, up to the G, up to the C, up to the E. Then I go from C sharp up, just to strengthen my lips. And I know we are kind of out of time.
We will, yeah.
But that's just something that I've really come to realize, that everyone's talking so much in flute pedagogy. People are talking so much about relaxing, you know, like you have to relax this, you have to don't do, like it's all relax. And personally, I was at a point so worried about tensing that I was just like, you know,
I know,
because everyone's telling me relax every muscle, but I think people need to also know that some muscles it's not illegal to use some muscles.
No, it's not this.
Here and here, like we need something we have to do.
What you say totally about the air channel. It's very important to have this stable, and this is in order to play relaxed, I need to be precise, and in order to be precise, I need to be active in some muscles. The thing is that for me, relaxed, for instance, you do with harmonics, very interesting. Of course, but then that's the starting point. Then if you reduce the air amount, then you can play more relaxed, but with the same contact point. That's the thing. then you know where the note is, and then you maintain that. But you will find the balance, or everyone will find its balance between tension and relax. It's difficult somehow, but it's not. You cannot play loose, totally loose, because otherwise
the air is going in.
the air is going out. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And sometimes this takes confusion, because sometimes it's like, no, playing very relaxed, and or for instance, when you do these kind of colors, this kind of BBC, you know, this kind of color like this, and this color, it's very relaxed, but it's very centered, because if it was not centered, then it would be, and no, it's different. And centered, it does not mean unfocused.
Yeah.
And for me, this is the difference. This is different. When you play relaxed, it can be unfocused, but it's centered. And in order to be centered, you need to be active in where is the note. And this is very important. You know?
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes.
I love the Prélude à l'après-midi d'un fond.
Yes, of course. It's like the masterpiece for flute players.
Yes.
And also it's very enjoyable to play, I think. It's not, I don't know how to say, it's something which is really enjoyable to play. I mean, I think sometimes we get stressed about that, but it's more like the tradition of getting stressed that when you have to play, because when you play it so nice in music and you can breathe, you can play comfortable. That's it. You can just enjoy. It's not a solo that is like this. No, it's not. I don't know. There are other solos that are more frightening because they are. No?
I played it once 10 years ago. I played it the afternoon of a fun, and it went very well.
Yes.
But I was so nervous, but still it went super well. But after I played Boulérou du Ravel, and then I completely fucked up because in the solo, because I was still so nervous from après-midi that I counted wrong on a long note.
For me, I have to say, for me, it's more difficult to play the bolero than the après-midi. I have to say, yes, because it's, come on. I mean, in après-midi you can do. You can have this freedom, but in bolero it's. This very difficult reading there, because you cannot lose time.
But I miscounted.
I know, but it's very easy to miscount. I know. It happened to colleagues playing with them.
I was not even sure if I had miscounted. I just saw the eyes of the conductor. I have to say it was Jaap van Sweden. Have you played with him?
Yes, I played with him. Yes.
And I saw his eyes came like when at one point he was staring at me like I thought very little, and then he was like 1, and then I was together, of course, with the snare drum again, and after when the applause came, he pointed at me and did like this, and I said to the oboe player, like between my teeth, like, did I fuck off my solo? And I got from her, yes.
But I tell you, this is very tricky one. I played that with the piccolo so many years ago, and it's tricky one. It's a tricky one. The Prelude Permitted for me, this is personal. It's easier because you have more freedom. In this one, you have to be totally on tempo. So that's it. Okay, it's like that. It's like that. For me, it's complicated. So anyway, Eirik, I am running out of time because there are lessons going on. Also, I have some lessons to do. And I have to quit, but it was super interesting, and we will definitely keep in touch for a next collaboration, for everything that we can figure out. And well, that's it. It was a pleasure for me.
And thank you for having me.
No, thanks to you for your time. Thanks to you.
And
Uh,
if any one of my followers are watching, go follow Frederic.
yes, thanks. And the same, I have to say that for sure the video will stay now. Okay, I hope that it stays so that we can everyone watch it later too. So thanks a lot for being here, and we keep in touch. Okay, and thanks everyone for watching as always, and go following Eirik. He's uploading very interesting things.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone. Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao.
Au revoir. Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.